Three, two. Hey everybody, it's Eric Steele here with Steel Wheels, and I'm sitting here in isolation. Stay at home. We're part of the Western States Pact of stay-at-home states, which means we have no idea when we're going to get to go back to life as normal. But, it's Western states, so I think pretty much all the states have legal dispensaries and whatnot, so people are pretty chill here. Anyway, that's a different subject. I have the good fortune of having a friend of mine that, well, we've been friends for a long time, and we've made music together for a long time. Never professionally, I'm not at that level, but I always have a great time singing with Greg and making music with him. And we're just so, I feel so grateful to have you had carved some time out today. We're with Greg Blake, and Greg is a bluegrass flat-picking guitarist from West Virginia. What you call it?
West by God, Virginia.
West by God, Virginia. All right. So I've known Greg for a long time, and again had the pleasure of making music with him. Great singing harmonies with him. I really enjoy doing that part of it, Greg.
Thanks, Eric.
I thought it would be really interesting to take some time out today and find out from a gigging musician, somebody who's working the road X number of days a year. I don't even know how many days you're on. Well, I'm sure you'll tell me here pretty shortly. But, as a gigging musician, how have you pivoted or changed your business model to? Because you can't, crowds are no longer happening. Large groups of people aren't going to happen, and they're not going to happen for any time down in the foreseeable future. So if there are a lot of people who are in the gig economy, and believe it or not, before Uber, the gig economy, of course, existed with musicians, because musicians go from city to city. Their schedules are always change, and depending on how busy they are or how many people they draw in, that really dictates a lot of what their business looks like. And so,
exactly.
So, Greg, it's good to see your smiling face, Greg.
Thanks, Eric.
So, your listing of awards and nominations and whatnot are pretty numerous. Flat picking, the Kansas flat picker thing, that's pretty big achievement, right? A lot of flat pickers in Kansas, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of flat pickers in Kansas, and of course, the bigger one, the national championship, of course, is down in Winfield, also in Kansas. So, but yeah, there's quite a few flat pickers in the state of Kansas.
So definitely got your chops for being able to hold up against all those other cats.
Yeah.
So anyway, can you talk a little bit about I'd love to hear from you a little bit about your background. I read in your bio that you've been playing professionally for a number of years and been in a few bands. Definitely Jeff Scroggins in Colorado and a few others. So can you maybe just catch us up as to what you like? Don't want to spend a ton of time with it, but where you're at, how you got to where you're at, and where you plan on turning around to now.
Yeah, sure. I played with a lot of different bands for a long time. For the majority of my life, though, Eric, it was really kind of a weekend warrior type situation. I had the quote unquote day job, and then do gigging on the weekend. And but all that kind of changed when I met Jeff Scroggins in Colorado. We both moved to Colorado at about the same time. He from New Mexico and me from Kansas, and so we met there, formed that band, Jeff Scroggins in Colorado, and it really took off. It was the chemistry there in that band was just something that people liked, not only in Colorado but all over the world, literally. And so we really got to be busy. Well, now we've all kind of gone our different ways, and Jeff Scroggins in Colorado played its official last gig in February. And so we're all kind of doing different things and having different pursuits now. And so, I do some solo stuff. I'm actually fronting a couple bands, one that travels nationally and internationally, and then one that where we just stay close to home here in the Midwest. I moved from Colorado in 2017 back to Kansas, and so I have a band that I'm doing stuff with here just locally in Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Arkansas, just those Midwest states. Mm-hmm. And then I have another band where I travel anywhere with. And so I'm still keeping busy. Yeah, I average about probably the last 5 years, or maybe even more. I've averaged 250 plus days out on the road.
Wow.
Yeah. So a big difference than when that the weekend warrior stuff that I was doing practically all of my life. And but then when I kind of retired from that day job, I've devoted everything to a full-time music career now.
So when you saw when was your first inclination that things were going to be a little different with this virus, and that you'd have to start adapting? I mean, we've known this thing was coming for some time, but not all the same level, depending on if you were watching the stuff happening in China and you were like really big into like forecasting, maybe you had an idea, but I left for Europe on the 3rd of March, so clearly things were okay.
Yeah.
I had no inclination from the State Department I shouldn't travel.
Exactly. Right.
So when did you think things were going to, hey, wait a minute, I might not be playing a lot of shows here coming up. I may need to figure something else out.
Well, it wasn't until probably late March that things really became. I kind of started, wondering, because I had a tour planned. Matter of fact, I had just gotten off of a cruise, bluegrass cruise, in the last week of February, and then had some gigs here and there the first half of March. But then I was planning an extended tour, basically the second half of March, with one of my bands, and then I would do some solo stuff. Then go, hook up with, another set of musicians, and we were going to do some collaborative stuff together through April. And then I had a lot of teaching gigs scheduled as well, camps and workshops and things like that. And but then all of a sudden the March gigs started canceling, and so I had to end up canceling that entire tour, and that was a 14-day tour. And then it wasn't after that, much long after that, Eric, until just things started snowballing as far as the cancellations. And I thought, okay, second half of March, 14-day tour, that's significant, but I got other stuff. This year was lining up to be a banner year for me, where I was just like super busy, and cool gigs lined up, and and actually, as far as forecasting, you mentioned earlier, I was forecasting this to actually be one of my most successful financial years as well. But that second half of March got canceled in its entirety. Then April cancellations came along. And I thought to myself, well, March and April, I'm still okay, because in a sense, things were lined up so well for 2020 as a whole that was almost kind of like gravy on the top. You know what I'm saying? And okay, I can do without the extra. I'm okay. And but then May started canceling, June started canceling. And now July is canceling, and now even August is beginning to cancel. So yeah, and it was about when the latter half of April gigs started canceling. Then I realized, oh man, I'm going to have to do something different, and that's when I looked to, well, what can I do online? And so there's been a huge shift for me in that regards, where I'm doing some teaching online, some one-on-one lessons. I'm doing some workshops. I've instituted what I call Workshop Wednesdays, where I conduct either one or two workshops, and I do it twice. I do that single workshop twice to try to accommodate as many people's schedule as I can.
Right.
And so sometimes, so on some Wednesdays I'll do a total of 2 workshops. Some Wednesdays I'll do a total of 4 workshops. And those are hour-long workshops. And on some topic either related to the guitar or vocals. And then, like I said, I'm doing one-on-one instruction now online, where I'd had a lot of requests for that. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't have the time to put the infrastructure in place to do it. Because I was out on the road gigging, sure, and super busy. But now I've got a lot of time on my hands, and so I've got the infrastructure in place now to where I'm starting to do the online lessons one-on-one, and then also the group workshops. And
It's remarkable how before it was the gathering. Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now, I mean, you could not pay somebody to take an online seminar, an online class. Like, nobody had the time of day to slow down. They'd rather, they would pay to go to a workshop, especially if it was the right person in the right location. They might sell out right away.
Absolutely.
But if that person was holding an online seminar, good luck. And good luck getting the kind of revenue from it. Now it seems like people are starting to take this medium seriously, which brings me to my next question. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with, and what have you found to be the technical issues that you face as a musician, i.e. latency, audio, managing just kind of a back and forth, how the mic works, and how have you dealt with, so give me some technical issues, if you found any, and then some workarounds or some solutions for these.
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric, because I'm still, it's still trial and error for me. I did try to do a little bit of research, and then also I jumped online for some of the online seminars and webinars that they were doing on technical issues. If you're like doing podcasting or streaming concerts, because this isn't like you were saying, this isn't the first time that we're doing podcasting and streaming concerts or doing online instruction. It's been there all the time. It's just that the majority of people prefer, like you say, the gathering. And do it in a nice setting, like it's you sell out at a Colorado mountain resort. You're going to do a week-long camp, an instructional camp. You'll sell that thing out in a week.
It's a memory people take with them their whole lives, of the friendships that they make, and and these gatherings are going to happen again, but not this year. Yeah. But I want to come back to that. But I just found out that. Let's have you answer this question first. I'll come back to my point.
Yeah. So I've right now I'm using the Zoom platform, and but I'm still working around issues with that. Like you said, anytime. The biggest issue, of course, for any kind of online musical offering is the latency issue. So with this isolation thing, musicians can't just jump online and do a jam session or do a concert together because of the delay issue. But there are workarounds to that. But what I'm doing now is like I said, I'm using the Zoom platform to particularly do my instruction. Now I'm not really happy with Zoom and its audio replication for music. It's there's settings in the I guess in the audio drivers or whatever there is with Zoom that is primarily just a vocal communication platform,
Right.
and it kind of interprets any instrumentation, whether single or ensemble, as background noise, and so the background noise filters in Zoom automatically go to work at garbling up the music side of things. And so I recently did a concert for one of these camps that I was supposed to teach at in April up in beautiful British Columbia. Matter of fact, it was just this past weekend. I was supposed to be there, and instead they said, "Well, let's do something virtual. Let's offer our campers a little something, and then maybe also build momentum for next year." And so instead of Zoom, we just used Facebook Live, which Facebook Live was, it did a whole lot better job in the audio quality of the instrumentation. So, but it didn't have the necessary, it didn't have the capacity that Zoom does to get that community feel. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in a Zoom meeting with 3 or 6 or 10 people, it really does kind of feel like they're right there in the room with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Facebook Live isn't like that. You can get the comments rolling, and things like that. But that's not the same thing as seeing people's face around the screen, and the interaction like even like you and I are having right now, the back and forth.
The weird thing for me, and I've been interviewing people for almost 20 years now as a journalist at a retailer, mostly like outdoor clothing companies and bag manufacturers. People make skis or make bicycles. And if it's in like an outdoor endeavor, bicycling, fly fishing. I even went to a travel goods show at one time. I went to a bicycle show last year in California, and I also went to a recreational vehicle show last year. So I attended a bunch of trade shows and listened to a bunch of pitches from different marketing people. And what's interesting to me is that I usually have to set up the camera, and I have to do the interview, and I have to mic everything up. It's this big technical challenge to do an interview at a trade show, but it's doable. This is like. It's a lot more. It's a lot easier to manage all this, and it records it in the background. I mean, I really like this format. I'm not so sure. I want to generate good content, of course, but as far as the format's concerned, I'm learning as I go. Zoom is pretty good. The quality of the video that I save is pretty good. I have yet to do one on Facebook. I think I would probably, I don't know if you can record what you do on Facebook, but I certainly would make sure that it wasn't anything important the first time around. And I also, I haven't seen any indication that Facebook has cleaned up their act at all. And I really don't want to participate with them as a business partner. That could change down the road. They're the best way to get a hold of my friends. So it's kind of indispensable that way, but I don't like their position on letting anybody advertise or say anything they want. That's just totally cancerous to our democracy and our society. That there's no vetting to any of the stuff that goes on their channel. And so I really don't want them to be my business partner. I mean, I would pay more for Zoom to figure out their audio and have a better level platform so that we both record better I'd pay for that. Absolutely. And I think that's an option. Actually, I'm if it isn't, it probably would be at some point.
Yeah, right.
So we've talked about latency. We talked about the fact that now people are taking this medium seriously. How did you go about getting the word out to your fans and the people that you connect with? What channel did you use for that? And was it an already existing channel? Was it?
Well, again, I'm tracking with you everything you're saying particularly about Facebook and some of their policies and their positions, and it's really resonating with me. What you're saying, and but as you also say, it's almost kind of a necessary evil to make contact with your friends, because that's just the platform that everybody's on. That and Instagram and Twitter. And so basically, I use those three platforms exclusively. I don't use anything else other than email. I do have an email list and a fan list, and so I send out emails to those who are signed up to that. Only who said that they want to receive emails, and so I let them know what's going on. And then I post almost daily, sometimes even more than once daily, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And basically what I do is Instagram has that nice feature to where you make the post in Instagram, and then it has the little toggle switches to where you go ahead and post it to Facebook and Twitter at the same time. So I don't have to go and do the same post or copy and paste, all that kind of stuff, multiple times. I can do the one posting and post it to the three main platforms all at the same time.
You have a YouTube channel?
I do. I have a YouTube channel as well, and it's also GregBlakeMusic as well. My website is GregBlakeMusic.com. My YouTube channel is GregBlakeMusic. My Instagram is GregBlakeMusic.
And that document that you send me, a good chunk of that will be in the description of this video.
Oh, okay, cool.
You as well. Well, great. So that's how you dealt with, obviously you can't do latency. So how do you do a performance with, have you done a live performance, or not a live performance, have you done a performance, a stay-at-home performance, like one of these ones where one lays down a track and the other person comes in? Have you done anything like that?
I have not done anything like that. It looks cool. And and of course, I'm talking with bandmates in all of the configurations that I work with about, because here we're even talking about the issue now of rehearsal and practice.
Right.
How do you do that? I mean, we can't, because especially the last few bands that I've played in, the national and international touring ones, we're not located all in the same town or even the same state or even the same country. I mean, I have band members who live in Canada,
right?
And so but even then, we got around the issue of distance, that we would just carve out a couple of days prior to a tour. And we'd meet somewhere, like at an Airbnb, and we would, scrub off the rusty edges, and then or rehearse new material, and then we'd be ready for a tour.
Or somebody just have a drunken blowout and ruin the tour before it started. Oh wait, this is bluegrass, right? This isn't rock and roll. This is bluegrass.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes there's not that much difference.
What's the difference between a bluegrass musician and a rock and roll musician? A rock and roll musician will play all night without tuning, and a bluegrass musician will tune all night without playing.
That's pretty good. I've also heard the difference, between a violin and a fiddle.
What's that?
The difference between a violin and a fiddle is you can spear beer on a fiddle.
and have an open cigarette near a fiddle, but not
exactly. So anyway, so that's how we're dealing with that. I haven't played any of those. I haven't done any of those things, where you kind of piece it all together. I recently did, though, a live streaming event that was pre-recorded, and so they had me come in on like 4 days before the event was going to air. And then they recorded it there in the studio.
Okay.
And then broadcasted it, kind of uploaded it and broadcasted it on a particular day.
Yeah.
And time.
Very
did it
happy.
that way.
Did you have you done a live performance of your own?
I've done a couple of live performances now. I did one that was hosted by a music venue in Seattle, Washington. And basically just did it from, I sent them the feed from right here in my living room, live at the, and I don't know what all, what platform that they were using. It seemed like it was Facebook, but there were other things that they had me like log into, things like that, in addition to Facebook. And then for that, the camp this past weekend, I did my instructor showcase on Friday night, again right from my living room, and it was Facebook Live.
That's great.
And and so, but yeah, that's what I'm doing right now as far as trying to do the live streaming thing.
So it seems like the relevance of Facebook Live is more that it goes out to a broader community and other people can plug into it.
Yeah.
These are private meetings.
Yeah.
You get invited ahead of time.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for answering the technical questions. What are your plans? Well, actually, I think this question will be informed by what I'm about to tell you. So let's throw it at you and see what you have to say. I have heard that in the Western states that no commercial meetings of more than 50 people are going to be allowed until next summer.
Until next summer?
Really? July.
June or July? Wow.
I think it's July. It could be June. I don't have the date, and I can't say the company. But there's a large company. But the thing is, all these companies are setting the standard, and everybody else is going to follow the standard after these major companies set it. So the major companies are saying,
of course,
well, we've agreed not to. And so the large companies are now recognizing that there will be no large gatherings, no large meetings, no concerts, no events where there's a gathering of more than 50 people.
Wow. Now, is that, and I don't know if you know this or not, but
Nevada just locked in with the whole Western states thing. This rolls for California, Nevada, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon.
Wow. And that's a lot of, and that's where I do a lot of touring, is the Western states. Is that outdoor performances as well as indoor performances, you think?
These are business, right now these are business meetings.
Okay.
But bear in mind, a business meeting, any concert has to be underwritten and insured, right?
Right.
If it's insured, what are you insuring against?
Liabilities.
And that's certainly a known liability.
Absolutely.
So what are your plans going forward, knowing that for the indefinite period going forward, right? You don't really have, like you're already saying August is off. I'm telling you it might be till next August before you can think of anything.
Right.
What are your plans going forward now?
Well, it will have to continue to be some kind of online presence if I want to continue music. Otherwise, I know a lot of musicians who are looking into other careers. This is basically ending their career as a musician because they either can't or won't, move into the the online world, and so and I would imagine just as in any other arena of commerce, there's competition, and this will even increase the competition even online, because we still only have so many hours in the day, and there will be competing times. Now, the great thing, though, however, back over on the positive side, the great thing about online music is that I would say 5 to 7 times out of 10, I haven't done the hard and fast research, but that's just kind of my observation and my educated or uneducated guess,
Yeah.
is that 5 to 7 times out of 10, it's recorded. And you can go actually listen to it at any time. You won't necessarily have that sensation that you were right there in the moment. But for the majority of the online community, that's not always a concern for them.
Right.
Yeah. So that will help maybe offset the competition issue and problem a little bit, if you can go ahead. But just that'd be the thing for any musician is make sure that the majority of your stuff will be around longer than just the scheduled time you're going to do it live.
Right. Think about establishing some sort of library of music, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's going to bring up, however, though, Eric, that's going to bring up more legal issues. When you monetize this, because when anytime we ask for money for something, we ask a certain amount of money because we know that other people are going to be asking money from us because we're asking money from people. So,
Can you explain that?
well, basically, I'm talking primarily about licensing, intellectual property. There are some musicians. There are 3 categories of musicians, I suppose. There are those who do solely covers or mostly covers. They're singing other people's music. Then on the opposite spectrum, there's the musician who does completely or mostly original material. That's their own material. They don't have to ask anybody permission, to produce that and make money off of it.
Right.
And then there's the musician who does some portion of both. So there's one thing when you sell a CD, that's a particular license and a permission that you have to get. When you record somebody else's material that they created, and of course they don't mind you doing it as long as you pay them for it.
Right.
And it's relatively inexpensive to do somebody else's material. It's just 9 cents every time you want to put that on a CD. So, for instance, if you record a project, you record a song, and you're going to sell that 1,000 times, then you're going to pay the person who wrote that song $90 to sell that your performance of that song 90 times, or 1,000 times. And then just do the math, on however many else. But that's only in that category. That does not count if it's gonna be on like video, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, television, theater, a TV show. Those are all.
In the case of Facebook or YouTube, where you're monetizing that first performance, right? You're getting paid for at the time of, either by passing the tip jar or having a paywall.
Yeah. Right.
How does that then get licensed? Who figures out what you have to pay them? And how hard is it as a musician to keep up with?
It's getting harder and harder all the time. ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, here in the States, And then there's licensing clearinghouses in other parts of the world that they do their own. And so so it's getting more and more complicated, especially for the DIY musician. The big timers, they have staff, they have people working for them, because they don't get their hands involved in that stuff. And all they're doing is showing up on stage or showing up in the recording studio, or
and just performing, and not
Yeah.
worry about being a businessman. But
Exactly.
really, if you want to survive now, you either have to have a decent business manager and already have something together, a shtick already going that you're just going to continue on. Or in your case, you need to adapt, and also, in addition to singing and playing guitar and being a schedule, you have to be a businessman.
Oh yeah, I'm a booking agent. I'm a road manager. I'm a producer. I'm a publicity person, a publicist, and so so I wear all the hats.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you spending time with me today. And it's great to hear how you've adapted and what your plans are for the future. Let's see. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Just think about the situation that the gigging musician is in right now, and being self-employed, we don't have the usual recourse to seek help, for a temporary amount of time. Now, fortunately, there's been some governmental things put in place, both on at a state level and at a federal level, or to give help right now during this particular temporary crisis, however long temporary might be.
Right.
But there's still the problem is that it's because there's so many self-employed persons in the United States that they're not equipped. For one, the unemployment agencies, the state unemployment agencies, they don't have enough manpower to handle the incoming requests now that have burgeoned because of the addition of self-employed persons. It was one thing, for the quote unquote normal employee who worked for somebody who paid in for an employer that paid into unemployment insurance. That's an easy no-brainer. They can apply online and almost immediately get assistance. But even the websites, the unemployment websites, are not set up for the self-employed, and because they just don't meet the criteria. And so you have to tell them, well, I'm self-employed, but it's because I'm a gigging person, and so I've been extremely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. But even yet to this day, I've sat down and tried to call, and what are we into this now? This is almost May, so a month and a half has passed, and I still haven't been able to get into the unemployment agency here in Kansas. Well, now, it's only fortunate for me, and it's been overwhelming to me, Eric, the generosity of my viewers and of my fans. I've gotten not just paying for, if I charge something for the workshop or for the lesson, or for the online performance, they'll throw in an extra $10 or $20 on top of that. And then there are those handful of people that just surprise you and then just incredibly generously gift you with something I'll give you this one example. It just totally blew me away, and then then we can finish up. But I had somebody call me, very a fervent fan, a faithful fan, and almost more than fan, almost really family, just that kind of relationship. And I got a call from them one day, and they said, we realized your situation. And of course, this is without me telling them, but they're hearing this, online and on the news, and the dire situation that a lot of gigging people are in. And they said, we weren't really expecting to get the stimulus thing from the government, and during this whole pandemic, our income has not changed one iota, but we know yours has changed drastically. And of course, she's saying she's talking about her and her husband. She said, my husband and I talked this over, and we want to give our stimulus check to you.
Oh my gosh! Right?
Yeah. I mean, and I was just totally blown away at the kind of generosity that exists out there, Eric. A lot of people would try to tell you that, the human race is going to hell in a handbasket, and I know that there's people out there who are, bad people, but there's a ton of people out there, Eric, that are not just good people; they're great people.
I agree. I've had my own experience with that as well. Greg, it's been really great talking with you, and I can't wait
You too, Eric.
to get together and we can see how to meet.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, won't it?
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Greg. I'm going to be including links to all the stuff you mentioned in the video and in the description below. Greg Blake is living in Kansas. What city are you in?
It's Overland Park, Kansas, which is it's a suburb of over on the Kansas side of the Kansas City metro area.
Well, look forward to seeing you when you get back out here again. I kind of have a feeling that even though we're not going to have big festivals, we may still have some small Pics and some small camping Pics that might happen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily informal, but not centered around a stage or performances.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, like I said, thank you for your time, Greg, and I wish you the best. What's the next live event that you have coming up online if somebody wants to check in on you?
Actually, we're planning, we haven't announced it yet because we're trying to work out the audio bugs, but we're actually planning a virtual house concert from Colorado Springs. And that's going to be this Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, like around probably 4 or 5 o'clock Colorado time.
If you want to find out more, just go to GregBlakeMusic.com.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Greg, have a great day. Thanks for your time.
You bet, Eric. See ya.